which I used to go for, I would die for, and I'm not, the less consumerism aspect has come into my life, and I'm abiding by that.
Okay, so I'm going to make this statement once again. I'm very keen to hear a concern, if at all you have, which you feel right now exists around you in this world, which is denying you your everyday quality of life. Is there anybody who wants to share any such problem which you believe is personally denying you your quality of life? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so good afternoon. I would like just to say I am from Europe, where elderly people are not accepted very well. You reach a certain age, and you should give the way to younger generation. You are a pensioner, yes? You have, of course, a sum of money, and you continue your living. So this problem, social security, disturbs me. So all the life I was working hard, teaching, and I was an activist, and now I understand that I'm not useful. The society does not need me, and I myself should find a way how to continue my life. And I say that I am happy because I am healthy. So if I were full of ill diseases, the quality of my life were different. So old age. I know that in India people are very respected, but whether they are all very wealthy. Today I was going by taxi and saw poor people living in shells under the bridges. So I do not experience hunger myself, but I pity them. So old age, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Sorry,
yes.
Just wanted to add something.
Please.
I'm sorry, going in and out of your...
No worries.
So there was a point in time, sometime last year, where I actually sat back and said that where is my life really headed? Am I really contributing very soon? My life will just pass by me, right? And when I look back, what's the contribution I've done, besides just myself or my family? And I thought to myself that what am I most passionate about? So the movie Slumdog Millionaire really hit me very, very hard. Because I felt that it was whatever he learned through his years, the education he received, whatever little it was, his experiences actually made him the millionaire that he became. Gave him the answers that he had to answer there, and that sort of led me to think that I think education is one thing, and the other is climate change. So that bothers me. When someone even trims a tree in my neighborhood, it really bothers me. I mean, I just want to smack the neighbor's face. It bothers me to that level. And so I decided that I need to probably do something, and I've decided to keep a certain amount of my income aside for planting trees. And so my Mali comes or whosoever, I actually have planted about 50 trees, and my target is to plant about 100 every year. So that's one action that I'm taking, and I think education for poor kids will follow.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Yeah, I think a round of applause for sure. So here's the two ladies, both of you give an example of a field and what you saw. You felt the problem because you are experiencing it, or you potentially visualize very close to experience it. The likelihood, rather, or you are apprehensive that if things go slightly out of control, the possibility of that concern being real may be high. But I'm sure you will always be happy. I'm sure, God willing, that nothing untoward is going to happen, for sure. And in your case, you probably saw, maybe also felt. But in these two examples, there's something very simple that has happened. You experience the problem, or you experience the problem from very close quarters. Yeah? And when you experience that, you felt that something in your environment, the way things are happening, is not good. It needs to change. And if it's not changing, somebody somewhere who's responsible for those decisions, and therefore in quote unquote leadership accountability for those decisions, probably are not there. And that's where you may either want somebody else who's better to come in and take responsibility for that role, or maybe in your case you do it yourself. You say that, okay, fine, I can't really solve global warming, but what I can do is probably plant those 50 or 100 trees. Chances are at the back of your mind you feel that somebody else is probably not doing it, and therefore you probably need to at least plant 100 trees. You know, it's this minor movement towards leadership. Now this is what I also would call it as context. You need to feel the problem. Until it becomes personal for you, the desire for change doesn't get triggered. Yeah? Now, there's a second aspect I wish to bring in. In this case, there's a feeling. In some other cases, there's a converse of a feeling. For example, in India, at some point in time, there was this massive advertisement and campaign, Save the Tiger. Yeah. Crores of monies got sold out, spent out. In fact, every Indian probably at this point in time, that point in time, knew that there were 1,300 tigers in the country. Because it was there on every bus stop. It was the India's lead cricketer and sports person was advocating the cause, the lead actor, actresses, everybody was advocating the cause. So everybody thought, yeah, tigers is the problem. Tigers need to be saved. Nobody comprehended. They just accepted. Now something very hilarious happened, and I'm going to say it's hilarious because some 3 years later, it came to light that the manner in which tigers were being counted was incorrect, and India had probably 3,000 tigers. So many times I end up picking up a problem without even comprehending it. Now, in case of example from you about old age or example about planting trees, you had your personal perceptions, your individual perceptions. In case of the tiger example, I borrowed somebody else's perception, I really didn't validate it. So, I will close one point and move to the next at this point. Leadership starts when you feel the problem, so I call it as an intensity trigger. Something around you has crossed a particular level of threshold wherein now you are feeling troubled or you are feeling anxious. And therefore, intensity is the most typical trigger for leadership. But then, usually by then it's too late. Because you're almost close to the consequence. And unless you're a very brilliant person who's figured out a solution where the solution can move much faster than the pace at which the problem has moved, you may probably not be able to reverse the concern. The second trigger, so I would like to come to this question, is what is the right time to start leadership? Is you can advance this feeling by giving an experience of the context and the comprehension earlier. And which is what we were doing in this country for last 11 years. And we took a context, and I'm going to explain this to you. I'm going to talk about a particular experience that happened in the classroom. Okay. So we were in a K-12, which is like a high school cohort in nearby this place only. Most of the students came from not so well-to-do socio-economic backgrounds. So they were struggling for basics, food, water, etc., etc. So therefore, being in a school was not exactly a in thing. So if somebody was actually in a school, despite the circumstances, they felt probably it's a bit of a luxury because you might probably go somewhere and still do some work and earn some money. But then there were some good Samaritans, there were some social organizations who contributed money and etc. etc. and finally made sure these children are in school. So they felt the problem pretty strongly. But they still said that I need to study, maybe that's a way out to kind of solve certain problems. So we asked, so in fact I was in this particular classroom and I asked the students, what do you want to do? They said, I just remember one particular boy, he said, I want to be a computer engineer. So we asked him, why do you want to be a computer engineer? You see, because I want to solve my society's problems. So we asked him, what is your society's problems? He said, we don't have electricity, we don't have water, we don't have roads. Serious problems? Serious problems. How does you, being a computer engineer, solve these problems? You didn't have an answer. So here's a boy who is already outstanding because in his community where nobody goes to school because of the socio-economic conditions, has taken the extra mile to be in a school, all the while believing that he being educated will be the way out for his social structures to be out of their problems, with no realization or no comprehension whatsoever as to how. So while he is feeling the problem, it's personal to him, he is feeling the intensity, he has initiated himself onto a leadership action as well. Do you think he's going to get his outcomes? Never. So he felt quite disappointed. Yeah? Now let me take it forward from here. Anything that we see happening in our world, absolutely anything, the way our food gets delivered to us, the way the food gets produced, the way electricity gets generated, the way our houses are built, the way our roads are built, the way the traffic is managed, the way the clothes get manufactured, the way children are taught, the way the curriculum is developed, absolutely any and every aspect in the world that we see today, not just today, for the last 6 or 7 decades. The quality of that act is always defined by some educated person who is sitting behind that action and taking certain decisions or not taking those decisions. And where do these people come from? They come from the schools. They come from the colleges. We often believe that if India's problems, I'm just now taking India as a context, if I need to solve India's problems, I need to enable the underprivileged. I need to develop the capacity and capability of the less privileged. Whereas, most of us tend to forget that lots of circumstances, probably all the circumstances that we see around us, is because of the quality of decisions taken by those people who have come out from this particular education system, who have moved into, whether you like it or not, some level of leadership roles. Whether it's large leadership or minor leadership, doesn't matter. Each of us are taking certain actions. And the unfortunate part is, even on the most difficult end of the spectrum, where this boy who comes from a difficult socioeconomic category, even after he feeling the problem, sensing the problem, all of us are moving our future leaders through a process wherein we are not developing enough comprehension and context of the world that we are going to be part of, the world which we are going to define, the world where we are going to take actions whether we like it or not.
I would like to give to your conversation a philosophical background.
Yes.
Your question was when the leadership starts.
Yes.
And when does the leadership end? Because not everybody can be leaders, and the life is changing. New generations come. So shall these leaders of the present give way to other leaders? Can you bring some philosophical background?
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. In fact, the next point I was deliberating upon was, while we looked at leadership in this manner, and I am appearing a bit negative about the lack of comprehension in the way we are preparing our youngsters and therefore potential undermining of leadership, let's for a moment assume that no, we are not good at solving this problem, and so we are going to accept this. Why not go the other way around? If you can't be good leaders, can you make people good followers? But then again, we perceived the problem. The problem was the manner in which we defined success in engaging our youngsters. We did not create space for apps what is not success. Or if you don't succeed, how should you deal with it? Or if you don't want to lead, is there an alternate? How can you be a good follower? I'm going to give you two circumstances. There's one very good leader. He or she is the greatest leader as per any metrics that you want to define. Imagine this leader sitting here and he has 1 million followers. All of them are really not good. This is circumstance 1. Scenario A. Scenario B, very bad leader, 1 million followers, each of the 1 million followers, very great followers. Which group do you think is going to succeed well? B or A?
With the followers, strong followers.
Strong followers. Yeah? Possible. So very interesting that if I can't make good leaders, if I can make good followers, maybe I can achieve good leadership. So we saw both. And when we went to the classroom, we went into the senior most in the education system. The people who are just about coming out of the college system, about to join the workforce. And we went to the students because we couldn't go to the people who are working in the companies. Because people who are working in the companies or organizations or governments or institutions, they are the ones who are taking decisions, they are the ones who are making decisions. Yeah? Ideally, their decisions are the ones which affect the quality of life for all of us. Ideally, I would like to go and speak to them, but they are busy. So I said, okay, I'm going to come and talk to you when you are free. So we realized they're only free when they're in the school or in the college. So we said, okay, fine, we'll go back in history, we'll go back in time. We will go and talk to each and every student, not because they're students today, but because they are the future professionals. And when they become the future professionals, they may not have the time to listen and converse. And therefore, we're going to talk to you when you have time. And that's how we went to the colleges and schools. Right? And we said, okay, you are in the college, you are in the school. What is the single most important preoccupation at this point in time for you? Your career. I come and talk to you about world peace, you may not be interested. There's nothing personal for you. I come and talk to you about global warming, some people may resonate, but beyond that, no. I come and talk to you about your career, I will listen to you. I will talk to you about how to get a good job, I will listen to you. I will come and talk to you about what do companies look for, I will listen to you. So I have to start somewhere where it is personal, but I have to still go back to this original concern. Am I applied in the way I approach whatever I do? So we're trying to understand. So I'm going to give you one more example. So we went to this second year engineering batch who were studying Bachelors of Information Science. About 90 students. So they were at the end of the second year. So we asked them, how do you feel? After some time, they eventually said they felt disgusted. So they felt disgusted about being in information science. So we asked them, why are you here? They said, because whatever. So effectively, they all disowned the decision, saying that we were here because somebody asked us to be here. So we said, okay, you are disgusted about information science, so let's not talk about it. This was about 6 years back. That time, this whole concept of jukeboxes were new. Mini pods and iPods and all had just about come in the market. We asked, what do you like? What do you want to talk about? They said, we want to talk about jukeboxes. We said, all right, let's talk about jukeboxes. Yeah? So, what do you like about jukeboxes? Of course, they said they like the experience, etc., etc., but they couldn't move beyond it. So I said, you know what, let's assume this. There's a jukebox on which you hear music, you hear songs. And that jukebox also knows who your friends are. And the jukebox can track which song are you hearing more. and it also knows which friend are you calling more. And if you are hearing this song more, and if you are calling this friend most, it assumes that chances are your friend may also like this song. So it's going to recommend that song to your friend. Would you like to own this jukebox? He said yes. That's interesting. By then all these current concepts had not come out. Right? So the next question we asked was, would you like to go and work in a company which makes these jukeboxes? The answer was yes. So we asked, this company which makes these jukeboxes, where people have to work to make these jukeboxes, what are they supposed to do? So eventually they said they were going to make some software, etc. etc. So we asked them, who wants to make this application, this software? What are they supposed to know? What are they supposed to study? Information science. What are you studying? Information science. You love jukeboxes? You are excited about jukeboxes? You love to work in a company which makes jukeboxes? You think it's information science guys who can make those jukeboxes? You are studying information science and you are disgusted about it. What's your interest? What's personal to you? Why are you investing so much of your time in studies? How does your interest translate into a role, a profession in the real world? What do you do there? How does studies make you capable to actually do whatever you have to do there? You're not doing it. So you're not connecting. You're not building the comprehension. You're not believing in your interest. You're not believing in your interest because you don't see the connect between your interest and the world out there. You have not connected the dots. So we said, okay. So as we spoke to more students, something else emerged. Lots of people didn't know what was their interest. And as we went back over the last 11 years, as we experimented, we finally started engaging a student at grade 5. So, one trigger of leadership is intensity, but there's another trigger of leadership which is also time. And we felt in our experiences, even a grade 5 student in a formal setup can be engaged on believing in himself or herself. And how? A little boy in class 5 says, I love balloons. In fact, I'm right now experimenting with my 3-year-old son. He loves balloons. I showed him a video on how balloons are made. Every day he says, show me the video. And first day he saw the video. First day he saw the video 5 or 10 times. Second day he said, now where are the balloons? There is a process where the balloons went in a mesh and they were being washed in hot water. He said, where are the balloons? Third or fourth day he said, what is happening here? Fourth day he says, what is this? Why is it going up? A 3-year-old in a span of 6 days is processing his interest in balloons, taking it forward, taking it forward, taking it forward. But that's my son, I can take my risks. But when we are there in the public world, we start with the grade 5 students saying, what are you interested in? I'm interested in pencils, bubble gums, marbles, erasers. Okay, you want to see how bubble gums are made? Yeah? They're grown-up people with lots of machines in factories, wearing aprons, doing some serious stuff level on bubble gums. Oh, my frivolous interest is actually somebody's business. So please remember one thing. I have only taken the youngster in school and I have stayed around their greatest preoccupation, which is their studies and career. Using this framework, we just stayed centered on how are you processing? Are you looking inwards at your interest? Are you staying on with your interest enough? Are you processing interest enough further forward on this aspect? The belief is, if on this aspect you choose an approach to engage inward, process that and engage outward, then this habit of building context and comprehension becomes a way of your thinking. If it becomes a way of your thinking, there might be greater holism in the manner in which you engage with the world. If there's greater holism in the manner in which you engage with the world, there will be greater sensitization, greater visualization of the problem. And if there's a greater visualization of the problem, you would either take a leadership role to preempt something, or if you are already in that role, you would be more sensitive, sincere, and more display greater integrity to your decisions. Or if you can do none of this, but you find somebody else addressing the problem, you may be more supportive of that particular person. But the beauty of all this is, you can foster this thinking using any example. And once that thinking gets embedded in a person, you create a better circumstance. I'm very happy to actually point out to one kid who is now a lady, who at the age of 16 or 15, she, 300 kilometers up north from Delhi, there's a place called Chandigarh, which is in the state of Punjab. It's the agriculture belt of India. There's a lot of rice and wheat that's grown. So when the farmers harvest the stubbles that remain on the field, it's a very labor-intensive process to remove it, or you need to have a deep harvester to pick them out and process it. Both of them require a lot of money. But what's the easiest way? Burn them. And all the smoke comes to Delhi, and there are 10 or 15 days in Delhi when the whole city is choked up, and there's a lot of health hazards. And this girl at 15, she figured out that this particular agriculture stubbles can be processed, and you can make tiles out of it. There's a value addition, there's lots of money, and therefore there is no reason for you to burn. So maybe this kid always had the idea, but probably didn't have enough confidence, or maybe may not have enough platform to project it out there. So we actually created a mechanism where this kid actually was able to project her thought process, and she managed to stand her ground amongst 20,000 students from 46 countries. Forbes magazine got very interested in her, and they ran a feature on her, all with a 15-year-old girl. And barely about 2 weeks back, this girl has been recognized by Forbes magazine, where even the Microsoft CEOs are really eager to get into that magazine. This girl has been recognized by Forbes magazine as the world's 30 under 30. And I'm so pleased to say this girl is sitting right there. This girl is the best example of our experiment over the last 12 years. That's leadership. And it's a very simple conversation that you can have, which can help people believe in themselves, and they can get it to any level they wish to, and convince anybody in the practical world about their progress. So I rest my case. Any questions? We have 5 minutes.
Just to generalize, so you connect leadership only with the young age. Only with girls and so on. And when you are 70, you will consider yourself a leader? What? Imagine. So you didn't answer my question. Because I was a leader all my life, yes? But what next? Death? Or you think that it's my feelings? No, it's the structure of European society. So will you consider yourself a leader when you are 70?
In fact, I'm going to give a quick response to that, but I'm going to pass it on to this one,
Okay.
because she's 17, right? No, 18. So
I'm
you're 19, you're closest to that age. So we'll actually pass it on to her. But here's what our thought is. There's another flip side to leadership, which is overestimating one's capabilities. And normally that overestimation once again happens because we view leadership from the prism of intelligence. We don't view leadership from the prism of understanding, comprehension, and wisdom. So, if I assume intelligence to be the surrogate and only representative of leadership, then at 17 I'm a leader, then the world is in grave danger. Which is also the problem with lots of youngsters, because we are patronizing them. I'm very confident this girl doesn't have that thing. So this one, what's your response?
Come here.
Come over here.
Yeah.
Come.
This camera will also cover the size forms.
So the question this one is, you got it.
So I think that starting at a very young age, it's important. I can definitely say that because we're born in a society which we put things to later on in life. I would think what I want to do. So I always believe in starting young, and only when you start young, I believe that I can change the world is when I'm going to be 70 and I'm still going to think the same, because age has never ever been a barrier, be when I'm 10, be when I'm 70. So when I'm going to be right now, I think that more than a leader, I consider myself to be someone that holds the capacity to change the world. And even though it might be something it's a big idea, but we can make a change through big ideas. I believe in myself, and I think I wouldn't like to tag myself as a leader, but someone that can initiate a change. And I hope and I pray that at the same, when I'm 70, hopefully I'll reach 70, I'll be able to think the same way. And I really owe it, I think, to Venkat sir. He's been a great mentor for me, and you need mentors like that reiterate the fact that they believe in you, and I've seen the change, because I also went and gave a talk at Learning Path School, and I just saw the fact that you believe in kids, and that is important. I think believing in a person is important, because just that one idea can make the person want to conquer the world, and that's what happened with me. So thank you so much for believing in me, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So there you go, ma'am. The person who has initiated her leadership but doesn't think she's ready yet.
I admire her. She's young. And you too.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Any questions, any thoughts?
But we need to look at her question a little more deeply. I still feel that her question isn't answered enough. Am I right now? Are you content with the answer? Which
No, it's his point of view, but he is living in India.
Yes.
I am living in Eastern Europe,
Yes.
post-Soviet country.
Yes.
So,
Different social structure,
Yes.
I am into spirituality and believe that the physical form, the body and everything physical. So my city, my house, the car I drive in, the country I live in, the country I'm born into, and the countries I go out to visit is all in my plan, in my soul plan. So what I understand, I mean, I could be limited in my understanding, but what I understand is the system that we have chosen to be born into and to experience is also our choice, and we are meant to grow through that. So one way of looking at things could be that, so I'm that's all that is there in my fate, and so I have to submit to this and I have to suffer through this. Or what can I do to this? How can I improve my life? Because that's what I can
Because
do. And
I feel
that is what extends beyond. So that is what will extend to my neighbors. They will see me doing whatever bit, whatever one little bit. So, if I assign my experiences to everything outside me, there's nothing that can be done. Then I am doomed. But if I take ownership of my experiences and my choices of wherever I am and whatever I am experiencing, then I will certainly make one small change, and that is leadership. So that is going to bring the next small change, and that's how the system changes.
I would want to add on to that.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, first time I went to Europe was in 2016 November. I was in Portugal for a little while. I was in Spain for a little while, and we are born in a country like India, which is my it's a blessing from God. But when I saw that the complete infrastructure is so senior citizen friendly, and I saw the buses which just stop at the place where, the side path, they just don't have to step down. Here the transport system, if you see, it is not at all 60 plus friendly or anybody friendly. Even it's not kids friendly also. So people have not thought about it. Our people, the age group, I don't want to call them senior citizens, the richest resource of our society, they are leading a life which is not meant for them to lead. There are problems galore because definitely the natural wear and tear happens. So India is facing those challenges in a much starker way than I feel the other countries are. So what I feel as a leader, we can be leaders in our thoughts, we can be leaders in our own habits. We don't need a large canvas or a platform to show a leadership skill. With your thought process and for the fact that you are here and talking about this, itself shows that you are a leader in your own way. So whatever little we can do to make a difference in society calls for a leadership skill. That's my perspective.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to grab your precious time. India was and is the cradle of spirituality for Europe. Let's say Lithuanians have very close link with Indian Sanskrit, Hindi from the 18th century. Linguists investigated the links between Old Sanskrit, Hindi and Lithuanian language, which is one of the oldest and living language in Europe. But what I want to say, Europe was and is very practical, egoistical, individual, and to overcome it, it's not easy.
Of course it is not easy.
So we were under Tsarist Russia, we were under Soviet Russia, and now we are free 27 years. So it's economical transformation are very heavy on us.
It is.
And to live high in the clouds it's hard, though I try to do it all my life. But I speak about that old age, which all you will face it, and it's different, quite different, the mentality change. Thank you.
So, allow me 2 more minutes, and I wish to add a few practical perspectives or maybe some thought processes on 2 aspects related to human beings. One is age, for sure. Second is redundancy. Same activities which were being done by people moving into machines. And it's related to old age because lots of manufacturing organizations in Europe, assuming people are going to get old, assuming there's not going to be any manpower, they are transforming the whole mechanism of production to automation. They're investing their monies to create better manufacturing technologies, which is going to digitization, robotics and automation. And there's a discourse, there's a conversation which happens, and I'm part of the conversation in a different forum. We will close in 2 minutes, sorry. And the conversation was very simple. It's how you visualize. If you visualize Europe and Japan as old age, and therefore you automate, then you have a problem. But if you visualize Europe and Japan as wisdom,
and India too.
And if you go to India, which has labor but no opportunity, and if you divert your resources to prepare this labor to meet up to your manufacturing standards, but for preparing those people, the education systems, the manufacturing systems, the training systems, the social systems, the healthcare systems will need experience, wisdom. Where is the experience and wisdom? Japan, Europe. How do you see the world? And that's a perspective shift that is being also encouraged now, saying don't see the world in your geopolitical boundaries, because if you pursue your leadership styles and decide this way, you're going to create a bigger problem for all of us. So in a way, in fact, I'm personally responsible for some of the discussions in different economic forums, which is titled under Global Workforce Mobility. How do you see human beings? Do you see them by age or do you see them by wisdom?
In unity, you cannot cheer this
Yeah.
prize.
But thank you so much. I hope it was useful.
Sorry, sir, if I
That's great. No problem. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Sorry, did I delay you?
No,
Thanks.
everything
This one. Can I request everybody to come to the front?
Yes.
May I request all of you to come here for a photo there?
Hi. Now you're going to please come.
That's Julia. I'm wondering who Julia is in the WhatsApp group. Be careful.
Come, please come. Join us. We can switch that off. Projector switch off first.
Please take a photograph. So you want to do this?
Yeah. Wait. Next me, I think.
Thank you.
There.
Thank you. Thank you.
Done? Thank you so much.
Well, this will get uploaded on the site.
Yeah.
Saira uploaded on the site.
Yes, yes. Do you want me to upload it on the website after this?
And then if we can't, oh my God. And if for some reason we can't connect.
Because I have a son, 17 years old, and facing problems. This is my personal. I need some consultation.
Okay.
I just missed the session.
Oh no, that's fine. It was so early in the thank you in the evening. Thank you for asking. Yes, you're right. And this is my daughter right here. Phoenix. And so yeah, whenever well, you understand as a volunteer too the challenge of juggling
I
things.
know that is my problem.
We're staying here until the 16th. I don't know at what point. Like we're hoping to be able to go out and see some things. But how big is one? So, but yes, if we can connect, that would be phenomenal. So we may even,
I think
carve out some time to
this,
step away.
I think for this, I thought.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because that is like my, that it's hard to me. Sometimes it's very dependent. happy to be when I'm not able to connect with my own child.
And then we go into this,
I must
what's
keep
wrong with
in
me? That it's not flowing.
Like all the ways I feel damaged already.
But it's not unsalvageable. It just may take a little bit of work. Like it's easier to I don't know, build a whatever than to repair it. But most things are never broken beyond repair. There's a way to catch it up. Well, it may not be exactly as you wanted it. It's certainly better than it was. And then there's the potential for it to blossom into something that's even more beautiful than you ever imagined it being. Because with these infections that come with life, there's also there's its own beauty and opportunity that comes disguised as bad events or pain or whatever. It doesn't have to stay there. But yeah, depending on what lies ahead, even if we just kind of step aside from our responsibilities here, like a firm leader in things unfolding and divine appointments or whatever, that yes, just text me and say, hey, will you meet me here at this time? And I'll do that. I'll just show up for you.
I think that's this only I'm here.
Okay. Oh, that's wonderful. So let me know.
Literally will change all of my life because it has become I'm doing so well in my professional life. I've been speaking on your health is in your hands. My sister, I'm not able to just want to text me, but I want to talk to you. So you only text all over kind of thing. Imperfections because of the same problems and I was overprotective maybe someone I didn't know how to fight. Because apparently some interference. I'm not contented from everything. As a healer, it's not good for me because I want to spread happiness like being an oncologist. They connected very easily with women, children. That's what my own child.
And isn't that interesting? Because you would think that if I can connect with all of these people, I should be able to connect even better with my own. But I think before we go on, we have these contracts or agreements with other people to come and teach us what we need to learn on our journey. And sometimes the people that we have in our family circle is most challenging because they have shown up to show us what we want to change in ourselves and make those adjustments. So if you can see from a perspective of not the mom hat and from a level of the soul, what have you learned on this journey with them? And step back and always from that point of view, what are you doing that's keeping this certain cycle going? Okay, so this lesson keeps coming over and over again. I keep doing this, he keeps doing this, and we're running this script. So what can I do differently because anything you do differently is going to kind of shift things. See that Saira graph here? There's a children's toy called Saira graph. I wish I had a physical to show you, but you put a pencil in. It's like this children's toy, and then it's got an outward thing here. You put your pencil in and it draws maybe like something like this. But if you put the pencil in this hole, it may draw like this. It's the same toy, it's just, it made a little shift over and the design totally changed. And that's how relationship or life, you make one change and everything changes, which then invites more change. So maybe that's what this is about more so. It's not so much the relationship between you as he has answered a soul level call to help you make a change in how you're approaching life, which at the same time, it's the reverse where you've shown up to answer a soul call. So and that's my sense on this situation, because I don't know the details, but it's not really a parenting issue. It just appears to be. That's what it feels like. So if you can look at you and what's being triggered, maybe where you respond emotionally and go into judgment, whether it's judgment about you or judgment about him, have a look at that. I'm doing this. Okay, back up a bit. What is this? What's really happening? Okay. As an example, he's being disrespectful. Okay, wait a minute. Is he being disrespectful, or is he really asserting his opinion? And because we perceive ourselves in this way, yes, because we have all this life experience, and we know maybe he's not being disrespectful. Maybe he's trying to own his power and share with you his perception that he feels that he's not being heard. So that's automatically going to be a wall. I get chills as I say that, so I think we're on the right path. So maybe that's all that is.
Correct. That is the point. Perfect. Yeah, correct.
Does that feel
correct?
Okay, good.
Correct. So good. Correct, because he is upset and he wants to say something, but I'm not. His language is different from mine. So I'm not getting it, so I'm getting frustrated. Then again, the rebellious expressions, and that again the war is coming.
Yes, and then neither of you feel heard, and you both go, what's the point? Because he's not listening to me, and he's not appreciating the wisdom I carry, because you carry wisdom, and it's jewels. But he has his own wisdom that he carries, that we tend to, as parents, go, you don't know, I know. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things that I learned in my parenting journey, because I had an earlier batch of kids before Phoenix was born. So at an early age, I listened to her perspective, her 4-year-old view of the world. And as I allowed and invited that, correct me if I'm wrong if you wish to, I think for the most part, she feels that she can approach me when our views are different. And she feels heard. I mean, sometimes I go, whatever, but she'll call me out, but I welcome that instead of going, how dare you talk to me that way? I'm your mother. I'm like, oh, wait a second, you're right. You have a different point of view, different experiences than I do. Share with me so I can understand. And I think that's part of why we have the relationship we do, because I screwed up with my other kids. I don't want to call it that, but I did the traditional model where we were more this, because I saw she was not this body. She was way more than that, and had come to me because I certainly was not expecting her. I thought I was through having children, and she showed up as this wonderful surprise. And I learned early to listen, because she had wisdom that I was clueless on. And I think that's really, as I'm seeing it, because I see the pictures, and that's how I'm seeing, and it's kind of funny because I feel him here, in this space right here.
He's very disheartened, rebellious, and in school also teachers say he's not a listener. But school also teachers are not ready to because he's different. It's photographs, writes blogs, and he's a different person. The teacher is also not understanding him. Projects, And then he stopped drawing. Very good at
Because he was
and he wanted to tell me
essentially
what
yeah.
and that whole class is and also he came to Heritage and he wanted to tell me that he wanted to listen to teachers. How they and the teachers I didn't know the story.
Right.
That was my mistake. I thought he was young.
No, go ahead.
And I said, I thought he's pampered and so nobody accepts even teachers. They say, no, he's not listening to me and then lost his running very much close to his heart. And then he went into the shell on the ground. Because I realized or I can use because I want to exchange the so all these things will be interpreted and now already damaged. I want to open the door and
This is because you've taught him that this is how your relationship is. When he lost Granny, he probably felt, my sense is, he felt he lost his support system. There was no one who understood him anymore. So he needed for safety to come in here. So what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, I don't know, is that what he would be open to, that's the best way to say it, what it feels like he will be open to, is if you sit with him and say, you know, I was thinking about things and thinking about the life I've lived and how when I had you, I had all these wonderful dreams for you and this vision for you. And I just realized I need to know your vision for you because I've been putting mine on you and I have dishonored you by trying to make you match this vision. And you're not this vision. You're yourself. What can I do to support you? And I'm sorry for the times that I didn't honor you and didn't respect you. And I want to hear those things. I want to know you because I have built a wall. So I couldn't know you because I was focused on this vision. I want to know you. And I think your willingness to express this difference and that now you have that awareness, I think he might take a little bit to make sure that it's real instead of, oh, Mom went away to this conference and now she's trying this new thing. But
if you don't study, I don't mind that. Now, I don't want to talk only. We are creating a drama. We are creating a drama. When you live your life,
and that may be his test for you. Are you going to let him do that? So you can still approach and go, you know, I'm noticing you do this, and I'm really proud of this thing that is totally uniquely him, separate from you. I really admire that you're doing that, and what strength you had knowing how meddlesome I was. You're pursuing your own path, and that takes guts, that takes courage, and good for you. And then a few times of that where he can sense it's real and it's not just a whatever, a show or whatever, he will probably soften and then allow you in. But as long as you occasionally do this, just be careful about overlaying your vision onto him and trying to, because I learned, and we know this intellectually, you came in with your path and he came in with his path. And we stand back and we watch when they're learning to grow up. They're going to fall and scrape their knees, and we know that. And if we tried to catch them every time, hold on to them every time.
I know it's the basic instinct of my only child. I got some problem, I got some weight, and all that's a dad. So I was holding like this for, I think, for I was 9 years old. I really was studying so much of this tension. So once he was out of the picture, now he should study the next day. And that I was like when I was I don't know
I totally believe it. I totally believe it.
My mom's terms for
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so it's a very exclusive speech. Okay, so what we're going to speak about is Womeconomics. And the idea is, where is our money going? How many of you, when your spouse or someone is in the supermarket, he needs to choose what to buy, a palmolive or a different kind of liquid, dish liquid, what will he do? First thing he'll do is call us. Call us. Do I take the red one or the green one? So it wouldn't surprise you that 65% of the consumers' decisions are made by women. Okay, so, and therefore, we are finding that more and more money is managed by women. more than 40% of the business in the US are owned by women. And if we look at and the growth of number of working women grew in the last 35%, while in 35 years, 27 million, while the men only 12 million. So as we know, it's also, we are speaking about the developed world, but it's also in the developing world. More and more women have more and more money, and they're managing more and more, and they're also being more and more employees. Therefore, and it's also in terms of millionaires, we have 40% of the millionaires are women. And in 2020, yes ma'am, be worried, and by 2030, it will reach 65%. So, we are now, we know that over 50% of the private owned capital in the US will be in women hands. All these statistics we are bringing from the US, but it's not exclusively in the US. It's happening everywhere, but just that's where the data exists. What's interesting is that in terms of the growth, the level of growth of women wealth makes it as the fastest developing market, more than China and India together. So we are very much, that's where the future is. And if we look at money-wise, it's 64% we saw. It's 29 trillion of consumer spending worldwide, which makes it 40 trillion, trillion dollars by 2018 will be managed by women. And that's why it even got a name. Here it's called Womeconomics. I find it very difficult to say it, so we left the C, and now it's Womenomics. Okay, so it will be much easier to speak. So, but what's interesting is to connect this into the brain and how we think. And interestingly enough, women think differently from men. I'm going to show you a short film that presents it in a bit of a nice way of what's the differences. So just bear with me a minute. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. I hope this sound goes. Oh, how do I do
volume?
How do I do the sound?
Volume at the bottom. There's a little speed. There we go. On that.
Yeah, click on that.
Also.
This one? Yeah. No? And then it's already on. Yeah, but how do we mix it? Okay, that's the loudest it's going to get. No, it could be. It's not connected to there. But I heard. Okay, never mind. So leave that. Okay.
But we can hear.
We can hear.
We can hear.
Yeah? So let's start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Sit down. It's true. Come closer. Come closer. You're going to the wrong boxes now. everything.
So true.
It's so true. Very good.
Okay,
Very good.
so with that understanding, with that understanding, so what is that connecting to investment? Remember we spoke about investment. So the difference is that way of thinking reflects of how investments are managed. First of all, one way of looking at it, and not saying men doesn't do it, but let's say someone does it. One can look at investment as money. Money to make money. Money is the end essence. The money is the end target. The money is where we want to get. Oh, I need to have it. Sorry. The money is where we want to. And so money is where we want to get, and that's where our last destination is. That we are investing in order to get more money, and then we'll get more money, and then we'll have a lot of money. And I think, so that's how money is managed today. But when women are looking at money, they look at more in a holistic way. They understand that money is only a tool. Money is only a tool for us to make good things, to bring education, to buy nice clothes that will look nice, that will have a better life. And the essence is, and the important thing is the life, is how to make the value of the money we are creating. And this two different way of thinking is the main essence of where we need to change and where we need to look, where we need to take responsibility. Okay? Because when we look at holistic way, when we don't look at it, we look only on the iceberg, at the tip of the iceberg. And that's, sadly enough, that's how our money is managed today. When financial people are looking, when financial institutions are deciding where to invest, they look only in the tip of the iceberg. They look at their annual reports, how much money in the bank there is, but honestly, it's only a snapshot. It doesn't really say where our money is. What and who are we investing in? Because this tip of the iceberg is dependent on how strong is whatever is under the water. And under the water is exactly all those things that we care about. It's the workers, it's the community, it's the supply chain, who is making our products. And the whole idea of responsible investment and looking at investment in terms of holistic view, in the women's view, is looking at what's under it. When we invest in a company and we are looking at it, what type of company is it? What type of investment is it? Is it good for us? Can it be that my savings are in the bank, but in the same time are financing a company that is polluting the water I'm drinking? Or using small kids in Africa in order to create my iPhone? Could it be? Those are all the things that we are asking the questions. And the idea that everything is connected, and it's not just that we care, not just our values, but it's also a risk-averse way of looking at things. So this ice, and looking down, and it's the idea that it's all connected came out, that the fact that it's all connected, it's a really nice story here. This lovely lady I met in Bulgaria, and how everything is connected. So if you see, I met her in Bulgaria, but what kind of flag is she holding? Greece. Okay? So when we came to her, we went to Bulgaria, we went to ski,
And she was there. She gave us the equipment. She rented us the equipment. And what we found out that she's an Olympic player, an Olympic skier. But why is she in Bulgaria? Because in Greece, the snow doesn't come anymore. It doesn't fall anymore. And then climate change, all of a sudden, is not just something that we don't care about and far, far away. It's here. It depends on her, and all of her family had to go from Greece to Bulgaria, because the tourists, all the tourist sector, the skiing tourism in Greece, in that area, stopped. And more than that, what she earns is what she can earn in the skiing time. And a couple of years ago, it was 6 months, and now it's only 5 months. And interestingly, the women are the first one to suffer for it. So climate change is not just the bears. And even if we don't like bears, it's here. And it's here as it's all connected. And the whole idea is to look at investment as all connected. And we are the Women Economic Forum, but also the World Economic Forum sees it. And also, but the nice thing is, you don't need to look into what's in it, but what it shows is that in good times and bad times, this type of thinking is giving more money, is earning for us more money. So the idea of the holistic view, the way women thinks, is the right way of thinking and the right way of financing. The problem is that that's not how it's being financed today. And today we are not financed by that. What's interesting is that Y generation, your generation, is already asking the questions, because our generation believes their financial institutions professionalism. But the next generation are already asking questions. Where is our money invested? We want to know. We want to know that we are invested, that our money is there for the future, and that we are not ruining the future by managing it. And all the big ones are there. All the big institutional investors in the world are there. But they are there in one hand, but still are not looking at the whole picture. Yes, it's starting to be integrated. It's starting, but it's still very much at the beginning. And they're waiting for us to tell them what we want. They're waiting for us to help them. So first of all, in Green Eye, that's what we do. We help them. But what I want to say here is that we also need to look a bit, not from the frame, look a bit differently on the things. And one of the things is trying to find more and more, build more and more funds. And what I'm calling here, and I'll be happy to share if any of you have examples, is what we need to make is Womeconomics funds. We need to make it an economic that serves women. And part of it is understanding that till today, a lot of the things that were created were not created for us. Did you know that seatbelts in the car were created for men? They created for men, and that's why 47% more women are being injured from seatbelts. Did you know that air conditioning? It's not surprising that we always find it cold in rooms, because the system that was created, the algorithm that was created, that are creating and deciding how cool it should be and where and how, was created by men. So we're not against men, but because we are becoming a greater and greater part of the economy, we want our share. And we want to share our share to take care of us. Not because we want to make more money. Yes, we want to have money. We want to save our money, and we want to be sure that it's managed properly. But we want to make it in a way that will benefit us. We want to invest in companies that are women-oriented. that are women, or the management are women, that have products for women. And that's why this is one of the solutions. And if we look at it, and so what do we do tomorrow? What do we all do tomorrow? First of all, we identify what are your and every one of us, our values. Each of us look in, what are our values? What is important for us? And then we need to go back to take responsibility and demand from our investment managers to know what our money is financing. Go ask, because our money could do so much more than just money. Our money could change the world. Thank you. I'm inviting my. Here. There we go.
Thank you so much, Noga. That was really great, hey? It really made me start thinking in a different way, and I think, that's the goal of it. I've got a totally different side to all of this. I'm going to talk about really reinventing yourself to be sustainable, because I think a lot of us don't actually do that. I'm in the NGO sector. I'm CEO of Stop Hunger Now Southern Africa. We're a global organization that is looking to ending hunger. So I resonate. I'm going to be talking to Yoga more because, cause marketing, that's us. We need that funding to end hunger, and we're passionate about it. But of course, it's got to be a sustainable solution. So how did I get into this sector? I have an MBA, I have a doctorate, I was a medical practitioner, and I gave it all up. Approximately 15 years ago, my eldest son was in a serious car accident, and as a result of that, is brain injured. He wasn't expected to live. He was in a coma for 29 weeks, and a week after his accident, my mom died. So that was a year that it doesn't matter how many $1 trillion you have, I will not take it back. But what happens to us women is that we either crumble there with all that is happening, or we go onto autopilot. I was on autopilot. I was on autopilot for two reasons. My son needed me, and I had to be strong for the family. So I reinvented myself and changed my direction and put myself on the back burner. 3 years later, I had a serious meltdown. I was crying for days, but you know that cry when you actually can't tear anymore. You just, and I did that because I thought I was too strong. And my body said, no, you're not. If you're not going to give in here, I'm going to give in physically. And that's exactly what happened. And I learned from that to actually listen to myself and listen to my body. Listen and know that there is help out there. Because as a strong woman, we don't want the help. We tend to say to ourselves, no, it's okay, I'll deal with it. Of course you'll deal with it. That's what our DNA is psyched to do. We will deal with it. But sometimes you do need help. And that help is important, it's relevant, and it can change your life for the better. Coming from the medical profession, it was always the case of, oh gosh, no, I don't want to go to the crap. That's the first thing. We're very vain creatures. That's the first realization we've got to accept. We're very vain in terms of that. We really don't want to accept that we're weak. We try to do everything. And you cannot do everything. But if you do it bit by bit, you do get to where you need to be. So that was the turning point in my life. I was at that stage CEO of a huge medical, I think you call it insurance company. And I started asking the questions. So my child was fortunate in that I can afford to provide this care for him. What about those other children that are in Africa? My eyes were opened because we're so busy on a daily basis with our life. It's not that we don't care. We're just so busy with what's around us. We tend to forget what's out there.
And unfortunately, it's like climate change. We don't want to talk about it, and Yoga says it's here now. It's the same with these kids. And for me, coming from Africa, we have the world's youngest population. If we do not look after these kids now, there is nothing. I actually have a bit of a selfish reason for doing what I'm doing. I want to preserve this heritage. I want to preserve this earth. I want to do good in this world. That's going to be my legacy. But I want to do it for my little granddaughter, who's now 2. I want her to grow up in a world that is more caring than the one we're currently in, because we tend to be so exclusive. We tend not to want to do things with other people. We tend not to want to share what we're doing, share the hurt, share the glory. We just keep it to ourselves. And cell phones don't help us, because we'll be sitting across the table, very comfortable on our cell phones. And rather than talking to one another, we're now WhatsApping. It's totally the wrong thing to do. Totally. Because we are now getting more like machines and losing that human touch. So just remember my words when you're at a dinner table and you're a bit bored. Leave the cell phone in the bag. Find an interesting conversation rather. But anyway, I reinvented myself to get into the sector. And I had to knock on a lot of doors because people turned me away. One simple reason: I was overqualified. They couldn't afford me. And the more I told them, listen, it's no longer about the bloody money. I don't need it, fortunately. You know, I'm in this because I really want to make a change. There was one brave soul, he's late now, Bertie Lubner, who gave me the chance and gave me the opportunity. And he said to me, I can only pay you this, and that's it. You do what you need to do. And I started this wonderful job at a company called Africa to Kun. And they were absolutely amazing, because everything I am today and everything I've learned from 3 people. One of them was Bertie Lubner, the other was Herbie Rosenberg, and the other is Mark Lubner, who's the son of Bertie Lubner. Now, I'm a good Muslim girl working with a Jewish NGO. That in itself was another conversation piece. The Muslim community loved it. But I wasn't hearing anything. For me, it was about what we could do. I was not going to fight somebody else's war, because I think religion, politics, and all of those lovely things create more discord than harmony. And I'd rather deal with a person, person to person. The one thing I did learn is that people give to people. People talk to people, and people understand people. We don't understand religion and politics. I mean, South Africa is a mess at the moment with politics. I think the US is too. And I'm like, you know what, you go on with your mess. I've got a job to do which is far more important, and that is to end hunger. And I hope we can do it. But again, sustainability is the one thing, because if you just take money, and if you're just feeding children, and there's nothing that's coming out of it, you're actually throwing your money into a well. So I am grateful for millennials, these young people, who are now starting to ask investment companies, where is our money going? How are you doing good? What benefits are they to investing with you? It's a great question. It means that young people are starting to think again about what is important and what is relevant. So if us old fuddy-duddies, who are the investment bankers and government and politicians and CEOs of NGOs like myself, you know, are saying, hey, listen, okay, this is our new market. We now have to start listening. And I think more importantly, it's important to collaborate. Approximately 2 years ago, I joined Stop Hunger Now as their CEO. And that's Stop Hunger Now. Okay. We're actually changing our name to Rise Against Hunger. South Africa is delayed. We have a very important day coming up, which is Mandela Day. And that's major in South Africa, so we will only do our name change then. Otherwise, like a business, it creates too much confusion when a well-known brand suddenly goes whoops and there's no thing. So we would rather not get people, you know, what's going on here, and do it afterwards. So Stop Hunger Now, Southern Africa is who we are. And if you want my cards, I will give it to you, and I can talk to you later and you can ask questions. But basically, when I joined them, it was a company that was going under. And I was concerned about that. But equally concerned I was about this weight that they put on my shoulders. And what concerned me was the fact that I was taken over from a male CEO as the first female CEO. The second was Mandela Day.
That's all I heard about. And at this, I realized why when I got into the organization. The reason for that was because they relied on Mandela Day, just one day, to fund the entire organization for the year. And I was like, okay, that's the first wrong thing. You cannot be so reliant on just one event because you never know when it will change. You never know when people will stop saying, you know what, we don't want to do that anymore. Then what are you going to do? So my first point of call was, okay, let me take care of the Mandela Day. I did the one thing that they never expected me to do. I issued a 1 million meal challenge for Mandela Day. Now worldwide it had never been done. I would have been in this organization exactly 6 months when we took on that challenge. How the hell was I going to do it? I didn't know at that stage. All I knew was that we had to pack 1 million meals. I got called by the global CEO and said to me, are you crazy? Nobody's ever done 1 million meals. Well, let me tell you the good news. We did 1.2 million meals. And that's called Reinventing Yourself. I took over with 9,000 beneficiaries. Today, just 2 years later, we have 58,000 beneficiaries and counting. Because for me, it's still not enough. We've got 3.1 million children under the age of 5, okay, that face food poverty. So we also had 2 branches, we now have 4. I also received the award last year from the United Nations, which is called the UN Congressional Award, and they called me the top 100 most influential women in emerging economies. The reason for that, I take no prisoners. I know what I want to do. I go to corporates and I tell them exactly what they need to do. And I don't mince my words. I'm not there with a begging plate. I'm there for you to do something about this world that we live in. You need to give back. We have huge donors, and they're really loving what we've done. We've just signed, I think, the most major partnership ever. SA Breweries, who's been taken over by AB InBev. Now, AB InBev is owned by Warren Buffett. We also have this huge partnership with Kraft Heinz. Kraft Heinz is a sister company, also owned by Warren Buffett. Now, if these millionaires and billionaires are doing this and making sure that their companies are tying in with the NGOs and doing what is right and what is relevant, we need to take note of that. And what I like about it is that it makes good business sense. If you look at the, I've had people come to me with the breweries. Remember, it's an iconic African beers they've released, and it's for Africa, which is great. But again, it's alcohol. We're not saying go and drink alcohol. We are saying drink responsibly because it is only sold to adults anyway. And you have that right to choose whether you do it or not. My thing is this. This child that we're feeding hasn't asked the question of where the money's coming from. Even if it came from the sewer, if that child is hungry, and none of us know what chronic hunger is. I mean, we fast as Muslims, but that is nothing compared to chronic hunger. When children can't even drink water because it hurts, their throats haven't had anything for so long. So, you know, it's all these kinds of things that we have to deal with. But anyway, we're doing, I think, a pretty good job. It's exciting to be here and listening to what different organizations are doing. And for me, it gives me hope. It gives me courage to carry on doing what I'm doing, because sometimes it does get to me. It gets to me that I have to be in this world where there's so much suffering, when there's no need for it. I mean, we produce more food than we can consume, so there is no need for hunger. But we do have hunger. And if there's anything you guys do something to end hunger. Thank you. Do you want to ask questions? Yeah, please go ahead. Feel free.
I have a question for you, Saira.
Yes.
The last conclusion is that we have more food. That's okay, it doesn't require. We produce more food than the consumers. So, are you doing anything on food wastage or recycling such foods?
No, absolutely not. The food bank is doing that, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of that. And what's nice is that they're tying in with restaurants and supermarkets and things like that. So they're no longer removing, you know.
But are you connected to them?
No, we're not. No, we're not. The food bank works totally separately. However, what the food bank is doing is that they're working with school kids and families predominantly. And my focus is on preschool. Because for me, that's the developmental years of a child. If you miss out on those developmental years, it doesn't matter how much money you throw afterwards. you're never going to get back that. So this is when brain development takes place. And for me, it's about fostering this wanting to come to school. And unfortunately, food is the one way that we can get these kids to school.
So you only work with preschool children. And what's your area
and
of
university students. One of the other things, we started university students about 7 months ago. I'm so sorry. And the reason for that was because the universities were coming to us and saying, hey, we have a problem. And I was like, what is the issue? You know, I can't just go to universities. I need to know. So go back, do your research, and come back to me. And what they said to me was that they can attribute 40% of failures at universities in South Africa to hunger. That's something I couldn't live with. So I started
So the area of work is only in South Africa? Or
South Africa and Africa. No, we are all over.
Which part of Africa?
Well, we do Uganda, Swaziland, Mozambique, Lesotho. We want to go into Kenya. We want to go into Nairobi, Tanzania. And there's a lot of work that the USA is now doing in South Sudan because, as you know, that's drought, climate change, as you were saying. And in South Sudan, just to give you some scary statistics and think about this, if we don't do anything now, 5 million adults, 5 million people will die by the end of this year in South Sudan. They're calling it the second drought wave. They had one in 2012, which was massive, and I think we lost about 750,000 people due to drought and famine. And now they're saying, if we don't do anything now, we will lose 5 million people. And I don't think there's a single one person here that can actually live with that. You know, even $5 a month helps. So think about it, guys. And they Stop Hunger, Rise Against Hunger in the United States, wherever. It doesn't matter who you give it to. It doesn't matter which NGO you give it to. You just have to make sure that these people have food and they survive.
Last question.
You got a lot of questions, Bob.
I want to know that are you doing anything for sustainability, like supporting supporting them every month, which is not sustainable. Maybe it will be a Warren Buffett or anyone. At one point of juncture, it should be like self-sustaining.
Yeah. So what we do, we work with these informal crashes, and my commitment is I will take them on for 3 to 5 years, and in that 3 to 5 years we then look at the holistic development of the crash. Whilst my main focus is food, I realize I cannot deal with the situation without actually looking at that. So we say to them, and we sign an MOU, if they don't agree to this MOU because I have to account to donors, then I don't take them on. Because then it means this is also to prevent fraud, which happens quite a lot. So we sign an MOU with them. We've got over 300 such facilities working with us. And for the first time last year, we exited 20, and in the next 2 months, we exited another 20 because they have now developed. They are now linked to social development. They're now registered. They're now getting non-fee paying, which government will support, as well as fee paying, and they've become their own little crash owner. So they're little SMEs. That's where the $1 trillion are going to be coming from as well. I think people forget this sector that can also contribute so much.
So public administration is engaged with the program, or
it's not public administration in South Africa, it's Department of Social Development. Yes.
Social welfare.
Yes. modified when we try to stay away from that. Because whilst genetically modified has served a purpose, it's also, we've realized in hindsight it's more dangerous than things. But one of the things that we're doing, for example, I think it's in Peru, we're doing tilapia farm. So we're encouraging them to farm their own fish. And not only is it a source for their families, but they can also sell it. And that's working very well. And there's another one, I think it's in Korea, where they're actually looking at vertical agriculture. And so there's a whole lot of things. It's not just about feeding, it's also about what do we put in the back to sustain this, should we withdraw. And that's always at the forefront.
It's amazing because it's all connected, you know, what Sarah said is about is how NGOs are pushing it, right? Yeah, it is also going back to investments and where do you want to invest your future money? Do you want to invest in those companies that are looking for agrotech and looking to the future and looking at how do we provide food to so many people? Or like, and one of the things is again is we're not going to speak about it here about all the idea of patented patents.
Yes.
And that's a big problem because one of the things we are trying to do is democratize the money and democratizing the knowledge in order to feed so many people. And if we'll manage, and one of the things we have to insist that also that one thing, yes, they're going to gain more money. They are going to look at the future and think how they're going to be here, corporates, but also how do we keep food not as a patent, for example. Because one of the things, the problem with the agrotech is that investors are willing to pay and are willing to invest only when it's patented. Meaning it's going to be exclusive because whoever will be able to pay it.
Yeah.
And then we won't be able to, so it's like a round thing, and that's where we need to be involved.
One of the other things that we're doing to reinvent ourselves is because employment is also an issue. So we're saying to government, if they come on board and just fund the meals, which is what they do on a normal scale anyway, for say 10,000 children, that would create 20 additional jobs for people who are unemployed at no additional cost because economies of scale comes in. I then go to my supplier, and believe it or not, I have suppliers like Walmart. I buy my rice from Walmart, and this is a commodity that's like this. And when I go to them, I tell them, you fix the price. We put them in a wonderful production line. It's a team building effort. We teach them how to do it. We give them all the lovely things to put on for their hair and things. We play some vibey music and they're having a ball and they're packing the meals. But they're doing the work that we're supposed to do. So that's how we've reinvented ourselves and made it relevant. Because if people don't want to just give money anymore. But if they're a part of it, and once they finish packing, they can actually go and distribute as well. Leave the table. Then they feel relevant. And I think that's the message that we came through. So I don't know how they managed to do this, but they took it to right before. Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to say that to ask you, Sarah, in Israel, we have in certain credit card companies, as a credit card holder, you have the possibility to choose. I think it's called round up. You call it a round. Like when you use when you pay $1.60, you can round it.
Yes.
And then it goes to
one meetings than anything else in the same house. All the time I know. But I mean, I think, for me it's about, they see the relevance of what we do. They see how we engage in so many ways within their business, and it makes business sense. He said to me, this is not about CSI funding. CSI funding, we know we can do it there. We give it to the World Food Program. But what you guys are doing is something different. So it makes businesses. And I think there's more funding that could come from that. So also for NGOs, it's important that we start thinking of business needs. It doesn't mean we need to change what we do. It's just change the way we think about how we do things and also make it relevant. If there are synergies, we can leverage off one another. And it's beneficial to everybody. And cause marketing is huge. I mean, major corporates are prepared to pay for a highly recognized NGO's logo on their brand. Now, it's never happened before. You know, we always on our website, we want everybody's, as an NGO, we want everybody's, so that people can see, you know. Now it's the other way around. They actually want your logo on theirs. And we're, hang on, you can't use our logo. Because we've realized the value of it. Like that, you know. So it's those kinds of things. And yes, I must say they are businesses that are looking for that kind of thing. And it's great for us because we can actually, you know, make a difference to what they want to do. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. We have everyone? Yeah, everyone there. You'll have to do something because we need to be in it too. Hey. You want to say everyone? Anna, you know? Are you doing We're not going to be tested in what we spend. Take a picture. I should take a picture. You're the only male. I
Come. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Oh God.
We need to give you the camera just 1 second. Where's your camera? Give all the cameras. There we go. We're going to hold on. You're the only man. Come quickly before you lose out. Come on. Come on. Come. My God. Facebook is going to so many likes. 1 million likes. Right. For the lucky guy.
I'm going to ask the world how lucky I am. Between the power of the universe, objecting on seat belts. I was shocked for a second.
Did you not know that?
No, I was unaware.
Okay.
I'm going to raise this concern in United Nations General Assembly.
There we go. Yeah, he's from the United Nations, by the way. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really nice.
I am a youth observer. I was fortunate to meet your Prime Minister last year, 2015. He was
Don't
talk about
मीडिया कार्ड फुल हो गया यार.